Sure. I'll get it started. Okay. Now, good. Good afternoon, everybody. I like a nice small group. I see well, Derek, I see a familiar name, and I appreciate Terry for inviting me. I was a member of NetSquared under at least one or possibly two prior organizers. Definitely a soft spot in my heart for nonprofit organizations. I've been involved with a couple myself, most recently Hawaii Open Data, which was a very nerdy organization devoted to government transparency and access to government information in machine readable format so that nerds like me could take government data and work on policy issues and um, make recommendations. The organization was run by a fellow named Bert Lum. I did a radio show with him for about 9 years, and we actually got laws passed at the city and state level. So a very good experience there. Right now, I'm working with another group called Kahanu. They're building ventilators. So they just got started manufacturing last week, and it doesn't look like we're going to reach capacity and have a burning need for these ventilators. But the good thing about this effort is that it's open source, so the designs are completely public. And we've heard from people in Asia who want to use our design to make their own ventilators, probably improve upon them. Again, a nonprofit organization, not an opportunity to do anything more than to help the community and uh, advance the public good. So my general background is in technology, as Terry mentioned. I am a huge fan of social media in all of its lovely, messy, terrible variations. Since I was in high school and I ran a dial-up bulletin board out of my house, I've been looking for ways that technology can connect people in particular and, sort of transcend distances and possible uh, different demographic issues and, get a conversation going and hopefully cause positive things to happen. I uh, went from bulletin boards to Usenet to message boards on the web, still running one now for after 14 years. Uh, all of these tools are exciting to me, and I like to help people feel comfortable with them and interested in them. So I did say that I wanted this to be a more of a conversation and to ask questions. Celia was here earlier, and she had a couple of questions that we can get to as well. Um, but I did want to start just overall, and I think getting more to Celia's question, I think that to the interest of this group, NetSquared, and how to capitalize on social media to help organizations, I can basically say that I find it exciting because nonprofits have, I would say, you would agree, financial constraints. And one thing about these services is, although they're monetized in a way so that these platforms can make money, and we can talk about that, they're free to you to use. And I think that's what's attractive. It's not like buying an ad on radio or television or in a newspaper. But unfortunately, a lot of these platforms also do need to make money. And so a lot of times your reach is constrained by how much you can spend. So we can talk about that as well. I will try not to focus too much on Facebook, but the fact of the matter is they're the 800-pound gorilla in the room. They basically are the baseline social media for entire demographics, entire communities. Whether or not you like them or even use it personally, Facebook is probably where you're going to focus a lot of your time, simply because that's where you're going to find most of the audience you want to reach, whether it's supporters of your mission or for people that you're trying to reach with your mission. Celia did have a good question, and we can get to that, in the sense that a lot of people consider Facebook your dad's social media, or in my kid's case, probably grandpa's social media. But it is the primary platform. I have 3 kids, but they're all teenagers now. They argue constantly as to whether they're millennials or Generation Z. I personally believe I have 1 millennial and 2 Zs, but most people would group them into the same category. So we could talk about that as well. Does anybody have any questions to get start? Terry, as the organizer of this group, I mean, do you feel you've conveyed kind of your interest in what you want to accomplish with this session?
Why I just figured that we should have some type of session where people could just kind of brainstorm and have an open discussion, feel like they can talk about pretty much any topic that relates sort of to social media. What wherever we go would be fine with me. Uh,
Sure.
I I have a couple of resources. I don't know very much about technology. You guys are far, Derek, you are far more attuned to that type of thing. I did do some research though, like for example, Tech Squared. Let me try to share my screen there. Tech Soup, uh, Tech Soup has, can you guys see my screen?
Oh, there you go.
Okay, great. So TechSoup has a whole bunch of social media type resources. If you guys don't know, NetSquared is the sort of localized um, avenue for TechSoup to sort of propagate their agenda. TechSoup is in the interest, there's certain nonprofits that are interested in helping just the general public or a portion of that public. However, TechSoup is trying their best to help nonprofits help their their target audience. So what they do is have these type of blogs and such to help people with social media. So for example, you could see that there's blogs almost every day sometimes. Um, you know, at least a couple of times a week. They're all free, obviously, telling you what types of things to do. These are there's many different topics, and as you can see, social media is one of them. But there's many different things that you can do on here, all free, of course. Um, some of it is not free. There's hardware that they're selling for stuff I would not buy from them because they're kind of a little overpriced. But in fairness, however, they do have some online type tech courses that are specific for nonprofits. You could see that, for example, they have tech soup courses here that you can see, and it has all different types of tech courses. Many of them are free, not all of them, but many of them are free for nonprofits, libraries. Uh, it runs the gamut: cybersecurity, tech planning, Excel, Word, Microsoft Teams that Derek was nice enough to cover for us last time. There's also some other types of discounts that are available on our website for various different types of retailers and things that we partner with. I shouldn't say we because I'm technically not part of TechSoup. I'm part of NetSquared, which is in 140 different cities. So we I guess we get around and such, and I think it's become much more important in this day and age for that type of thing. So that's like one example. Then I wanted to also uh, say that um, there are also um, different types of resources that you can find online, not just from TechSoup. TechSoup has what we call a nonprofit social media starter kit, which is this little snazzy type of thing where if you could kind of see it. I will, of course, email it to you if you want. Just email me, uh, you know, nice pictures and explanatory about what TechSoup is about, as well as, how to go about starting a social media type of thing. I know Ms. Chang was asking about trying to start some type of educational website. This is the type of thing that you might want to do to be able to, expand your customer base, your donor base, your viewership, the traffic on your website, et cetera, et cetera. So, I'm not going to actually go over that stuff right now. There's, various checklists that are available. There are different tactics that or strategies that they've come up with to try to, increase the the you know the way that you go about planning and strategizing. There's all these different types of guides. There's many different resources. So we're just one of these resources, and we're just fortunate to have Ryan and other people like Derek, you know, uh, teaching about us about these things, help sharing their knowledge, because a lot of these guides, they just go over the basics and they can't really answer our specific questions. So that's why hopefully we'll be able to, tap into Ryan. Yeah. Okay, well, that's my spiel. So definitely, if you want any of that, let me know. Just send me a message or email or something like that, and I'll certainly give it to Ryan as well, so that he could share it if you'd like, and things. Okay. Well,
Thanks, Harry. I think that if we went and read just one of those, we probably cover everything everyone expected to cover during this webinar. So I think it is good that we focus on if anyone has specific questions. I know Ruby probably doesn't have questions because she's a professional in this space. Derek as well. It'd be great if everyone wanted to introduce themselves. But we can start then if nobody has something specific. We can start with Celia's question. Um,
actually, I think
oh,
Ryan, you came up with a great idea. If people would not mind, it would be nice to have everyone introduce themselves if they aren't too shy. Uh, let's start with Andrew here. We're gonna unmute him. Unmute him.
Don. He's got to get hooked up to his audio now.
Yes, I guess he's gonna hook up to his audio here.
Hi, Ruby.
Aloha, Ryan.
Oh, okay. Well, why don't Ruby? Ruby? Why don't you start?
Me?
Yeah, would you introducing yourself?
Oh, okay. Well, hi, I'm Ruby, and I I do a lot of different things. Right now I'm doing community management for a couple of innovators, and I've had an HR background and doing a lot of different social media things. So I have my hand in a lot of different pots. But the reason why I'm so interested in this is because one of the passion projects that I've been working on for several years is an inmate art project through a nonprofit called WorkNet. And we started to discover there's a lot of talent in the prisons, specifically around art stuff. And so we came up with an idea to market and sell their artwork so that they can earn money for their transition back to the community and also to get recognized for their talent. And so I'm kind of a one-person show, so it's been difficult for me to make a lot of headway with this, but the few steps that I've taken at social media have had some little measures of success, but I can't, stick with it. Like I can't post 3 times. I know there's like Buffer and Hootsuite and things like that, but I just don't have the budget, to purchase some of those. So I'm always interested in seeing how I can maybe just some really quick things that I can do on social media that get those quick hits and get the word out about this Inmate Art Project, how people can buy the art. If we have a showing or, anything like that, how I can get the word out. So that's what drew me to this, especially because it's pitched towards nonprofits.
Excellent.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ruby. How about you, Mr. Andrew there? We can't hear you for some reason. I unmuted you, but I can't hear you for some reason. Still having technical difficulties. Okay, we'll return to Andrew. Celia, would you mind speaking?
Hang on. Okay. I should probably go now before I get cut off again.
Well, just make them fast.
Air hugs.
That's fine. Just make them fast.
Aloha, my name is Celia Chang Takahashi, and I'm here today because I am the Community Coalition Coordinator for a group of people who are working towards making sure our teens, we concentrate on prevention of underage drinking. So one of the things that we want to do, especially right now with COVID-19 happening, is that there have been reports both nationally and locally that alcohol purchases have been increasing within markets. And then now with the state ordinance saying that we can have all purchase alcohol with a takeout. One of the concerns that we're having is that there's an increase of stress in the home. So now there's an increased amount of alcohol, making it easier for our teens to either access alcohol for self-consumption or be involved in quote unquote shoulder tapping, where adults say, hey, boy, go get me one beer. You know, and that boy can be anywhere, you know, underage down to elementary school. So one of the things we want to do is try to figure out how can we use social media to keep putting out positive messages out there. And with National Prevention Week coming up, doing something community-wide where youth can participate in something to support each other and be role models for resiliency.
Yeah, that's great. It's you know, sounds very important. The isolation has really done what, you know, divorces have gone up, suicides have gone up, alcoholism has gone up. It's not great. So we say, you know.
And unfortunately, our topic is not quote unquote sexy enough to get the media. So there have been reports where, you know, we're concerned about domestic violence increases because our victims are at home with their abuser, like you said, with child abuse and things like that. But even though the alcohol sales, we have the numbers showing that the numbers have increased. I don't think our topic is sexy enough where reporters will actually call somebody, like call ADAD and say, hey, we saw this, is there a connection? So that's why we're trying to gather up our forces, work with our teens to try to put something out there during National Prevention Week so we can put a positive spin on that and then help our teens and help our adults keep their kids safe and drug-free, basically.
Well, hopefully we'll get back to more specifics later on. Andrew there, have you finished figuring it out? I guess nobody wants, Zoom doesn't want to hear from you. How about Carrie? Carrie, would you mind speaking?
Hi, sorry guys about all the emails.
That's okay.
Thank you so much though, I totally appreciate it. I'm just really shy, so sorry. I get a little nervous talking, but yeah, I'll speak for Chris too though. So Chris is on here, and then we were just wanting to get information and just learn about how to, I think we're thinking about making a nonprofit, possibly, and possibly setting up a website and then trying to figure out things from there, but it's more like geared towards like helping people with health and everything. And that's
just generally, or COVID, or what?
No, health meaning like, yeah, just like in general, like, you know, like eating healthier or
okay.
Kind of things like that, you know, exercise and just like kind of like a little hub where people can possibly learn just like the basics or, you know, of certain things. It's just an idea phase and stuff. Just basically the idea is just so that just to get out basics so that maybe possibly to help people, you know. I mean, that's our objective, is wanting just to help people in some way, but we don't know how.
Okay.
Yeah.
Derek,
Welcome.
would you like to speak at all, or? Oh, I'm sorry. Were you going to say something? Oh, okay. Let's see if Derek wants to speak.
Aloha. Hey, sorry, I don't have a video camera on this computer. I'm lurking today, just seeing what everyone's up to. Yeah, I'm Derek Gabriel. I'm the CEO of Ignite Solutions Group. We're an IT services firm in Honolulu that specializes in nonprofits. So I'm on the board of a number of nonprofits and heavily involved in the community and always looking to see what I can do to help folks out. So that's what I'm here for today.
Yeah, thank you very much. Let's see, Andrew. Let's see. I still can't.
Andrew says no.
Oh, okay. Andrew says no. Okay. Wow. Okay. Okay. Well, let's bring it back to Ryan, I guess, and then hopefully at the end we'll have some time to, I guess, individualize this
Sure.
production. I guess. Yeah. Take it
Okay.
away, Ryan.
Well, we can start with Celia's question. I mean, about how to engage youth via social media and stuff. I definitely understand the issue with getting the media's attention. They do a lot of PSAs, and actually I've been seeing more PSAs now because they're not selling as many ads. So actually there's been more content in the newscasts than there used to be. I saw channel 4 gets all the way to the 15-minute mark before having an ad break, which is kind of crazy. I mean, it's not good for them, but it's good for people looking for coverage and looking for news. I mean, I'd be happy to help on that front too. Booking morning shows is usually the best way to get that started because they're all hungry to fill that time and they want to talk to experts and everything. And your topic is timely, so don't give up on the media side, I guess is what I would say first of all. But in terms of social media, I think Celia, you asked where are the audiences? So you're right when you pose that question that Facebook is the 800-pound gorilla, but it's the 800-pound gorilla of 35 and up. So when you're trying to reach your basically elementary and high school kids, probably not the most used. I would say number 2 would still always be Instagram, which is owned by Facebook, but just don't tell the people on Instagram that and they'll be fine. My kids actually use Instagram primarily as a messaging platform, not as a photo sharing platform. So I think one overall broad generalization that there'll be exceptions to mention is that one of the things that they say about Generation Z or whatever you label the people who come after millennials is that they're more privacy focused. So they are very, very engaged on tools, but they're less likely to engage publicly. So my son sends probably 1,000 messages on Instagram a day, but as far as you can tell from his Instagram profile, he does nothing. So it's on one hand his most engaged platform, but it's his least, the one where he won't publish anything anyway because he's not a public person. So one of the challenges I think you might face with that demographic is that tendency to be more private because they're less likely to share. I personally, and to my children's great chagrin, have been studying TikTok quite a bit. I like that you mentioned TikTok. I would say that it's a platform that is popular in that age group, for better or worse. Obviously, when you're talking predators and scams and stuff, you are more worried when you have younger people on those platforms. They're not supposed to be on those platforms, but they are flocking to it like things like moth to flames. And that might be something you would look at because if there's anything that is true, at least about TikTok as a platform, is that it is meme driven, which is take an idea and iterate on it, take an idea and replicate it, take an idea and copy it and share it. So when you're talking about a viral message or a message that you want to propagate, that might be one reason why TikTok might be attractive to you, because the tendency there is, oh, that looked interesting, that looked fun, I'm going to do it and put my spin on it. They even have a feature called duets where you would post a video saying follow along, and somebody else will post a video that they can put alongside your original video and follow along and copy it. I can envision how that might work for a like yeah.
Okay, so Ryan, TikTok sounds like
Yes.
also sounds like because our youth these days have a really short attention span, that TikTok might also be a little bit more appealing because they're short snippets, it's memes, videos tend to be like less than 30 seconds. Is that another draw for TikTok?
Oh, I mean, it's part of the short attention span trend we're all probably dealing with. I'm 45 years old and I still spend too much time on it, but it is because you can consume a lot very quickly, and you just swipe, 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 swipe until you see something interesting, and swipe, swipe, swipe. I think that if I were to think about how I would apply it for a campaign like yours, the first most important thing would be ambassadors. Like, as much as you are a very cool and exciting person, Celia, target group would listen to anything you have to say or I have to say about it, right? You would have to you would work with a school, probably, you would work with an organization you're already familiar with who has basically people in that target demographic, and they would kind of be the models. You would look for the 14 to 17-year-old who would propagate the message.
Yeah, we already have 3 ambassadors on our coalition, and they've been with us for a while. So even though we have one that's getting ready to graduate from high school very soon, I'm not sure if it's this year or next year, and we have 2 that are under 21 and they're in college. So they've been with us for a while. They've gone to some of our youth ambassador training and everything, and 2 of them are already working within their colleges, supporting their social media for their specific colleges. So we've got people, and they've done interviews before, so we've got the youth who have the knowledge. We just need to figure out how to frame their ideas and their suggestions so it's appropriate for all of our audiences. And then, you know, how does someone like a dinosaur like me talk to other dinosaurs?
Right.
And stuff. So yeah, so we've got a couple of the pieces in place. It's just a matter of shuffling them around and getting them into the right formation so we can put the big jigsaw puzzle together. Does that make sense?
Sure. Yeah. Can I ask how your organization currently interacts? I mean, among the organizers, well, frankly, the adults. Is it an email group? Is it a Facebook group? Is it how? It's probably not monthly meetings anymore, right? So,
based on what I have learned in the 2 months since I've been on the job, we do have monthly meetings, and even before COVID shut us down, we were talking about using Zoom because it's for the entire county of Honolulu. So we've got people coming over from different parts of the islands, and a lot of them, as you know, working with nonprofits, our other related duty is to go to a lot of different meetings. So sometimes they want to stay closer to home or closer to the office instead of driving into downtown Honolulu, only to have to go out to Makaha.
Sure.
So we did have a Zoom meeting, and we actually saw participation go way up. We do have a Facebook and an Instagram account, but we don't have a lot of followers, and we don't have a lot of postings because, again, our youth, they're not quite sure what to post and things like that. So we've kind of got like the pieces in place, and we've got the adults who have the knowledge and the wisdom, and we've got the youth who are excited to take that. It's just a matter of putting it all into the mix so we come out with, you know, a beef stew that's really tasty.
Sure. Yeah, I think that, you know, for your organization itself, I mean, if you have a good platform where you're interacting, you can answer questions live, you can make suggestions, or as you say, delegate or share meeting opportunities to present and everything. That's good. In terms of for your target demographic, it's going to definitely be, I mean, just shooting off my hip, it would definitely be Instagram first and foremost because it's established and popular. And then after that, when you could be experimental and be edgy and be pushing the boundaries and trying this TikTok business. So the reason why TikTok, I think, is attractive for your case is that all you would need, not all you would need, but like, for example, if you're would set up a specific skit or
perhaps you could repeat the last part
or specific bit of audio.
Came out. You conked out there for a little while. Could you repeat that last part, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, I might have bad internet. I apologize. Yeah, I think Instagram would be where I would start because it has the penetration and the audience, and you would just focus on building that, you know, commenting and participating and using hashtags and following hashtags and liking like-minded organizations and activity, that's your richest platform. I think that the most interesting one, the one that your ambassadors might be interested to play with, would probably be TikTok. And the reason why that's attractive is if they would come up with a skit or an interesting piece of audio, even one line of dialogue, believe it or not. The whole idea with TikTok is that, oh, I like that audio, but I want to put my own video to that audio. That's the message. That's the meme-ness of TikTok. And the next thing you know, your audio could go viral or could reach 30 or 40 people because somebody thought, oh, that's funny, but what if it was dinosaurs doing it? Or what if it was puppets or oranges from the kitchen doing it? You know, you never know what they're going to come up with.
Right.
So in terms of the creativity and the remix culture, TikTok's attractive. The only reason why I wouldn't put too much energy in that is that it's untested, it's unknown. Organizations have a mixed history there because kids know when they're being marketed to. You know, kids know when something is good for them. You know, when when you're putting vegetables in front of them. So
Right.
it's tricky there.
Right. Yeah. And again, we're, like I said, so it sounds like for National Prevention Week, where our coalition of coalition partners, that's kind of what we figured on doing. So we're going to do a TikTok challenge where we put out the kahea, and then our youth can share with us their ideas and things like that. So we're making our progress to getting there. So something that for a short period of time, like a campaign that's for a week, we're really making progress. And I'm hoping that we'll be able to use all of that dialogue that's going to get us to National Prevention Week as a foundation to build off of. So then that way we can keep going with TikTok, we can expand to Instagram, and then take all of that wealth of knowledge to create meaningful posts on Facebook to reach a wider audience. And then Twitter, for me personally, I'm not too worried about that because again, it's still really message driven by retweets. So not only putting out, hey, we saw this article, and then start using the hashtags, but I'm creating unique messaging, but also with that retweet, because I know that's still relevant on how to build your audience and then also putting out a common message. And then Ryan, I do want to give other people a chance to ask their questions, but if we could put this in the parking lot and circle back, I don't know if anybody else is wondering about how to measure our return on investment, because I know Facebook, we can do that directly on Facebook. But I know like a year ago, Instagram, you would have to find something outside. So I don't know, because Instagram is part of the Facebook juggernaut. I'm not sure if we can get, I don't know if they've kind of like thought like, oh, okay, so you know what, people like how we can get Facebook demographics and information and data straight off of Facebook, but with Instagram, we had to go somewhere else. So for me, I'm kind of hoping the two juggernauts are talking to each other and saying, oh, maybe we should do the same thing instead of making our Instagram people go someplace else to find out on return on investment.
We'll get to Ruby next. The short answer, though, is that Instagram does have metrics and stats and everything. As long as your account is an organization and not a personal account, you'll have access to those stats. And now they integrate on the Facebook side too. So if you have your page connected to your Instagram account, it'll combine a lot of those numbers together. There are a lot of third-party metrics companies out there, though. Ruby, you have a suggestion or a comment?
Well, yeah, I was listening to Celia's discussion and trying to, so right now, because artwork is so visual, I have been using Instagram, and I have it linked so that it posts directly to my Facebook account, but it's on my personal account. I have a WorkNet page, so that people can go there and look at what the agency's been doing. And I've been doing a lot of features of, I haven't been consistent with it, but when I was, there's a lot of stuff on the Facebook page. I haven't linked the Instagram account to a WorkNet page, and it just confounds me because I haven't really spent a whole lot of time like trying to understand how all that stuff links from your personal to your business. And I have my own personal business with my Brain Smart design business that I want to be able to link to my page. I don't necessarily want it to link to WorkNet. So got a lot of questions about how all of that stuff works. And I don't expect for you guys to answer those, but those are things that are coming up for me. And the second thing is, do you think that TikTok might be an interesting medium to explore for the inmate art? I know it's video versus, you know, still photographs, but, or can you do still photographs on TikTok? I haven't really explored that a whole lot. But what do you?
Excellent questions. I want to get to the Facebook one. In terms of for your project, what I would see and what you see a lot of on TikTok, there are a lot of artists on TikTok, and what they use the platform for is process videos. So here's how I make my art. Here's, you know, or they just take 1 second of video every 5-10 minutes while they're putting something together, and then they show the final piece at the end. It's all about building the message while they're painting or while they're creating, and then the last shot is, here's my great video, what do you think? I mean, my great artwork, what do you think? So I mean, I don't see still photos themselves, but I see I would have to say on my own feed, I see a lot of painters, and a lot of them are just like, here's a close-up of a brushstroke, and then here's the canvas, and then here's what I'm doing, and here's me mixing the paint and all of that, and then they'll set it to some music that they like, and that's it. It's basically a process video. I think that would be, they would probably enjoy telling the story of their creation. But I do want to get your questions and your concerns, because I think that that's a very good one and a very common one, and I'm happy to have good news for you. So a couple of things. I'll try to share screen now without getting into too much trouble and sharing who knows what. So I'm on Facebook now. All right, so one of the things you said was you have a personal page on which you're sharing things, and you set up a company page or a project page or an independent page for work for this artist program, but you're concerned about it conflicting with your your education page. The good news is
it's mostly
yeah,
not on Facebook. I figured it out on Facebook. It's Instagram that I'm not sure about, because you know, you can link.
So first of all, yeah, I would definitely say, and this would be true for anyone in this group, if you're not running a organization page for your organization, and you're using a personal account as an organization, or you're using your personal page specifically to promote a particular organization, that's not how Facebook wants you to function. And in fact, a lot of times, if you treat your personal page as an organization page, you'll get flagged, and you'll have to turn it into a personal page, or they'll say, well, you already have a personal account, so this account gets canceled. So you'll want to set up pages for each organization or campaign. But if you go to facebook.com/ and of course now it doesn't want to do it for me. All right, well, there should be a way to, well, I'll just show you mine. You can actually run multiple pages under your account. So just don't be afraid to be stuck with one. So Ruby, I know you said you have many. The other side of it is, when you do the connection from Instagram, you can choose which page you administer to connect it to. So you're not limited to one. So if I'm on Instagram and I say, oop, turn this into an organization Instagram, and they say, great, do you want to connect it to page? You can say yes, and it doesn't just take over your education one. You can select from a list. I want it to be the WorkNet one that gets these posts, not the education organization. So you can run multiple pages, both on Facebook and multiple Instagram accounts tied to those different pages. You don't have to just have one connection. So I regret that I can't figure out where that link is now. I see there's a chat message, or maybe someone's trying to save my butt, but it is possible to do. Oh, stop motion capture. That's a good idea for Celia also, or for Ruby, you know, to kind of do a time lapse of a artwork being done. You know, just set the camera down while they work and let it do a rapid kind of thing. Yeah. So let's see, I'm gonna go to my Kahanu page because I feel like this is bad. I used to be able to just go to facebook.com/pages and it would say, do you want to create a page? And I'd say yes. But for whatever reason now, when I go to that, it says this page doesn't exist. So either oh, here it is. So yes, when you go to facebook.com pages, there's all the pages you follow. And the first button on the page is create a page. So it's not hard. Definitely don't use your personal page as your organization is, I guess, the main thing that I wanted to say. Always create a page for it. Now, the number one objection people have to using an organization page on Facebook is that your personal page always gets more engagement and visibility than an organization page. It's unfortunate. This is how Facebook makes its money. This is why a lot of people still use their personal page to promote their organization, is because Ruby, if you've got 1,000 friends and 1,000 people on your page, and you post to each, you will probably reach about 200 people on your personal page and probably reach 20 people on your organization page. And you'll be like, well, that's ridiculous. I'm just going to keep posting to my personal page because more people see it, which is not bad. I mean, you can continue to promote. You would as a person. But the fact of the matter is, if you're looking to expand your audience beyond the people you know, it's going to have to be like organization page. Obviously, it's all algorithm driven. If you have a lot of engagement on something on your page, then it's going to be reaching more people. Hashtags reach more people. And then the last desperate step is to paying money to Facebook to give it more reach. But for example, Celia or Ruby, if you have a page for WorkNet or for your organization, and there's a message that you definitely want to get out, the way that people hack that algorithm is they have a back channel, usually text messages or something. And they say, okay, I'm about to post a message to our page, everybody. Can you all please like it, love it, and comment on it? And that sudden burst of attention on that post will cause it to reach more and more people. So if you do have sort of a centralized hui of members of your organization, I mean, I wouldn't message it on Facebook because they probably can sense that, but you say, hey, there's a new post on the page, please go and like it. I do that for my company a lot. Like, okay, we want this post to reach, instead of 20 people, we wanted to reach 200 people. So let's all go like it, but we will do that on Slack or text message or something else to promote that. But in terms of Facebook pages and personal accounts, I want to kind of cover that.
Hey, Ryan, what do you think of this strategy of like not even having it connected to your personal page at all? Like having a completely different email and just logging into Facebook, and you don't think it's a good idea?
Definitely not a good idea.
Create a new organization.
You're gonna get.
It's better to connect.
Yeah, you're gonna get flagged, and Facebook is really good. In fact, if you are all bored, I mean, because I'm not going to admit that I'm doing this, but if you are at all bored, try to create a new Facebook account today and not have Facebook figure out that you already have a Facebook account. It's pretty creepy. Clear all of your cookies, use a brand new computer, use a realistic sounding name, and say, I'm going to set up a brand new Facebook account as someone who's never visited Facebook before. And Facebook goes, nope. I mean, they're really good. And the other side of it is there's no reason not to run several pages as a single person. Again, you're not limited to a single page. You can moderate. I moderate about 40 pages for organizations.
What the reason why I'm asking is because if, for example, let's say you have a nonprofit that is going to obviously exist after you die, or maybe you might just be affiliated with the nonprofit for 3 or 4 years or something like that. So how do you go about handing off?
Yeah, that's a good question. You can have multiple administrators and multiple owners for a page. So I definitely try not to be the only person with access to a page, because I could get hit by a bus, or I might decide I don't like the organization anymore. It is true that a lot of organizations get stuck when the person sets it up, leaves. So don't get yourself stuck in that position and always say, oh, we've set up a Facebook page. Thank you, wonderful intern, for doing that for us. Can you make these 3 people administrators as well? Because you don't want it so that when your intern leaves that you lose access to that page, for sure. Okay. There are ways to,
I'm sorry. Even though there's a page, let's say for Inmate Art .com or whatever it is,
Yep,
and
yep.
then it's associated with Ruby, and then Ruby, I
Yep.
guess, I don't know, gets too busy with her actual work or something with the brain trust thing. I kind of forget what she said, but then she says, "Oh, Terry, can you handle it instead?" And she stepped down as a board of director. I no longer affiliated. Then that page somehow transfers to my personal webpage or something. Or
As long as you were, you know, in a perfect world, there's a transition, and Ruby says, "Well, so this is not, you're now the administrator of the, I'm going to take yourself off as administrator page. Be well and do well," right? Certainly, if you work with an organization with a board of directors, it's probably a good idea to have the 3 officers there be administrators, just so that there's some accountability that way. It's a nightmare scenario to lose access to a page. It's not impossible to regain access to a page. I've done that a few times too. It's crazy and not easy, because reaching a human being at Facebook is difficult. But unless there is a specific reason why only one person should have access to controlling that page, you should always have a backup set up.
So your recommendation
Excellent.
then is go ahead and set all this stuff up onto your personal page, and then just have multiple pages that you administer.
Administer, yes. So I think you set up you said you work up a WorkNetting page. Did you set that up under your Facebook account, or you made a brand new Facebook account?
No, I
to
set
do
that up under my Facebook account, and then I also have my
Oh,
own
good.
business that I set up a page
Yep,
under my
yep.
personal account. It's the Instagram side, though. I wasn't aware that you could actually link up to those pages on Facebook through Instagram as
Yep.
well. I think that's what you were saying, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'll have
You
to
can pick a different
research.
page for each account.
Ah, okay. I'll have to
And as
investigate.
far, I mean, and how many organization pages did you set up? I don't know. I'm at about 40, and I've not been stopped yet. I thought I was just stopped when I tried to show it to you, but it showed me the button again, so I could create yet another organization page if I wanted to. So don't feel constrained that way.
Okay,
Let's
great.
see. I'm reading questions here. It's effective for you, Derek says, providing advice. If you wanted to speak, Derek, but otherwise I'll read it here. Is it effective to share the message from your organization's Facebook account to your personal account? And Derek's answer is this effective for you to interact and reshare content from your organization with your personal account? So yes, I would agree. So you want as many individuals as possible to interact with it as possible. So that's how you gain reach. So that's how I would cheat and go, hey, actually my family, my kids, I will sometimes text them and say, can you like this page? And they're like, but it's for your job and it's about real estate. I'm like, I know, but like it anyway, because you know, I want more reach there. So yeah, that's a good question. How do we share a post that we like on a partner's? Oh no, the sharing question. How do we share a post that we like on a partner's Instagram account to our organization's Instagram account? And can we share their Instagram post to our account with a post to our Facebook page if they are linked? All right, so that's 2 separate questions. Since the dawn of Instagram, they have been promising the future ability to reshare. That's the same way you would retweet on Twitter, you would retumble on Tumblr, you would share on Facebook. Everybody wants on Instagram to say, that is a pretty picture. I want to hit a button, and I want it to say, one, I'm sharing this picture, but it should also say, this picture was from this other account. The fact of the matter is, although they've promised it next year for about 5 years, I have not seen it yet. So until that day comes, unfortunately, people use third-party apps to do exactly what you're asking. So I personally am not a fan of them, and I think that they will eventually get shut down by Instagram because they're violating the terms of use. But those apps are what you would use to do what you're saying. Like, I want to take this picture that Celia posted and I want to post it to my Inmate Art page, and I want a little credit on the picture that says it came from Celia so that everybody knows and they can click on it in the caption to go see Celia, but I'm sharing this picture on our page. So there are Celia, but it's built into Instagram, although I am willing to say that probably before we die, that capability will be native to Instagram someday. Just don't know when. So people use these apps.
Right.
The
No,
thing
that,
that will do.
yeah,
I
no,
What was that?
Ryan,
Oh,
sorry, Ruby. Ryan, thanks for that information. Because I'm just thinking, because as we, as a coalition, go through the steps of creating our own messages and everything, if we can find memes or messages on Instagram that we like, you know, it would be a good way for us to build partnerships and audience by sharing a post from somebody else. Like if a dad posted something or Department of Health posted something.
Yep.
And I'm frustrated that Instagram is still not letting us do that within the Instagram universe. But I think it's ironic that they're not happy that people are going to third-party resources. So why don't you make it possible? But
yeah, no,
you know.
I will say that that was one of the lines that Kevin Systrom, the founder of Instagram, did not want to cross, but then he left. So they're doing a lot of things with Instagram now that they said they would never do. So, you know, I think we'll get to there eventually. The third-party apps is one way to go. The way I would do it if I've done it is literally a screenshot on my phone and then reposting it and then putting all the details in the caption. I would say that when you want to convey or propagate an idea on Instagram, the most common method used by marketers is they use a prompt as the post, and then they say, tag a friend in the comments that you would like to share this message with, right? So you'll see Hawaiian Airlines post a picture of Korea, and they'll say, hey, who would you fly to Korea with? I mean, maybe not now, but who would you fly to Korea with? And then what they get is thousands of comments where random people will say, well, I want to take my, you know, at Terry, whatever. I want to take my friend at Ruby, et cetera, et cetera. And then Ruby gets notification because her friend just outed her to Hawaiian Airlines. And then Ruby clicks on the link to go see that this post that Hawaiian Airlines posted. So that's definitely one way through tagging that people use to propagate ideas on Instagram, but that's still secondary to the hashtag. Hashtag is probably still number one.
Derek, I unmuted Derek because he said he wanted to join in on the ROI conversation.
Yep.
Only if we want to dive into that a little deeper.
Yeah. How do you measure your success? How do you go to your board of directors and say this was a useful use of our intern's time because they got 36 likes on Instagram?
Right, and that is exactly the thing that I always point out. I like to point out is don't get stuck in the like tunnel, right, or the like swamp. And I can give you an example with some actual numbers. So, for example, we have a page with 10,000 likes, right? And the cost to the acquisition cost was about 2 cents. And it's much higher these days, depending on how you go about that. But the challenge is, right, so there's an audience now of 10,000 people, but we have zero attributable growth from those 10,000 people. So though the cost of acquisition was really low, the lifetime value of that is basically zero. So it's easy to get these reports, and you know, some folks get really excited, right? You're sitting in a meeting and it's like, oh, we had X number of people interact with us today. But like at the end of the day, it's important to understand and to be able to attribute, you know, what it is that you're trying to accomplish. So the goals are always important, and then that's how the ROI conversation gets a little bit better.
To add on that, that's a very good point. I think that I always say that a lot of people have the problem Apple has. So Apple does its quarterly earnings reports, and all of Wall Street watches it. And they have, let's say in January, they had the best quarter ever, and they sold $100 billion in phones, right? And then the next quarter of the month, they report that they sold another $101 billion in phones. The tendency among the stock market, which is natural, and the tendency among boards of directors is not to look at sustained success, but at growth. So they don't see 100 billion that second quarter. They see the extra billion, and they're like, well, why just an extra billion? So you have a lot of success on your page. You have 100 followers, you have 200 followers, and the next month you have 198 followers, you have 212 followers, and you feel unsuccessful. But I think that it's important to not focus on not look for exponential growth and not look for that number, because it is engagement that matters. It is the number of people who saw it. So that's an impression. That's a word that you'll look for. Impression means they saw it, but Facebook and Instagram will always be very generous in defining an impression. They might have scrolled past it very quickly and never even noticed it, but they would count that as an impression. And then you're going to look for engagement, which is somebody did something. They liked it, they tapped it, they commented on it. So engagement is more important to me than the impressions, but the impressions number will always be bigger. So depending on how tech savvy your executives are, they might just be happy with your engagement level. Oh, 10,000 people saw it. That's great. But you would look at that and say, well, only 3 people liked it, so that's not great. But those are the kind of metrics you look at. But both for Instagram and for Facebook, you have, and also for Twitter. I'm sorry, Twitter as well. Actually, now that I think about it, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn all have built-in metrics that you can, as an administrator of a business page, go and see their counts, their charts, their graphs, your impressions, your engagements, your growth or lack of growth. And of course, always when you're looking at these engagement pages and metrics, there'll be the big button that says, buy now. And if you're willing to spend money, we will push these numbers up. But as nonprofits, you probably know that's hard to do.
Yeah, I think you can relate it to something like YouTube with the statistics type of things. Sometimes they can be very misleading, if you go by that. Because, for example, if somebody starts watching a YouTube video that's like 45 minutes, they can just stop watching it after 30 seconds and not watch the whole thing, and yet the number of people who quote unquote viewed this YouTube video goes up. Also you can like a video without even watching it, or you could dislike a video just without watching it. So unfortunately, a lot of these statistics that people kind of go by, it doesn't necessarily mean how much actual interaction, or how much people actually care about your organization or your product or whatever it is.
That's a very good point. And in fact, I'll show this very quickly, because this was a big deal in the media world. And I guess it's getting a little off topic, but I think it's important to show. So Facebook was the worst violator of this metric. And they basically said that if someone saw your video in their feed, even if they scrolled past so fast you didn't even know it was a video, they counted it as a view. And then they sold advertising against it. And 2 things happened as a result of this practice. One, of course, they made money, tons of money, on people thinking they were reaching 10,000 people when they were reaching 5. But secondly, these metrics were used by media companies, multi-billion-dollar media companies. We're talking Cox Communication, and I'm trying to think of all the cable companies, but Fox Networks. They all saw these engagement numbers on Facebook and said, what we need to do is spin up an entire division devoted to putting video on Facebook. And many, many companies did. They said, oh, well, Facebook video is the new TV. Look at these numbers. We need to be a Facebook video company. Every big company did this. Washington Post, CNN, they said Facebook video is the future. They hired employees, they built budgets, all of this stuff. And then, of course, it comes out that they were lying to everybody. And all of those divisions got closed. All of those people got laid off, including some friends of mine, because it turns out Facebook was not the savior of the media world. They were just saying their numbers were 10 times bigger, or what does it say, 900% bigger than they actually were. So there is, I think maybe if there's a lesson, is that to be skeptical of the metrics they're showing you in a way, and to put it in a very simple way for nonprofits, is if you are seeing the results you want from your Facebook engagement, then that's all that matters. Like, oh, well, only 3 people liked it, but this one guy turned out to be a director of another nonprofit, and he wants to meet up to talk about something we can do together. Well, guess what? That was a very worthwhile post, even though there were only 3 likes. So let's see. Did we reach all the questions? Anybody? We haven't heard from Andrew, Carrie. Anybody have questions or a topic they want to talk about? Oh,
I think
silence.
I
This
think
is scary.
I think the thing about
Oh, I
uh,
think Gary's mouth moving.
yeah, in our business of nonprofits, the
Oh, there we
key is
go.
that we're interacting with people, you know, and it's we when we get to this technology thing, it becomes very impersonal, and I think that the way, I mean, I'm speaking as a filmmaker, not really a technologist, but the way that you can sort of engage with people is to be able to engage them on a human level. For example, let's talk about your, you know, oh, Carrie, did you have a question? I'm sorry, I see you unmuted.
Oh, no,
You have
no,
a
no, I'm
question?
good.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
okay, okay,
I
okay.
just, I've enjoyed listening. Yeah, I'm good.
Oh, okay, okay. Did you have a question, Derek, or a comment?
Nope.
Oh, okay, okay. So, so what I was going to say is that we're engaging with people on a human level, and the key is really to kind of show that. Like for example, with the internet, with the inmate art, what I would suggest doing is, you know, trying to get an interview with the actual inmate and what the art means to them, what prompted them to create the art, where did they learn their skills. I think people would be very interested in that. Also, you might want to engage with their loved ones on the outside and what they feel about the art, what it means to them, how it makes them feel, and things like that. And I think that when you humanize these individuals, then you may get more engagement from other people, because I think what happens is a lot of people are clicking through many different types of things on the internet, and they sort of don't really engage until something engages them. And when many people are kind of looking for that little interaction, and I think that when people see like a video about babies or a video about little pets and things, cute pets and things like that, that sort of invokes an emotion from them. And that emotion is the thing that gets them involved, that gets them interested, that makes them stop to start looking at your thing. And what Ryan said is very important, where, don't, and Derek said is important, don't really base your success or failure based on likes or how many views or whatever it is. You should do it based on other things, like how much of an impact you're making on the desired community that you're trying to impact. Like for Carrie's situation, she's trying to teach people, about health things. So one thing she could do is start
That's a
engaging with.
well-timed cough there, Terry.
I couldn't hear what you just said.
Oh, sorry.
What did you say?
Oh, I said that was a well-timed cough, but my internet ruined the joke.
Oh, okay, okay. I'm sorry. So, anyway, what I would say is that she could go to the individuals she's trying to educate and, ask them what types of things they want to learn about, because they're more likely to go to the website if you're talking about things that they're actually concerned about, and such. So, and then you can have videos of the impact your educational things have made on it. Another thing you could do is you could link to other different websites that have content that you want to promote, and you can also ask those websites to try to promote you by promoting, linking up their websites and things. So, yeah, I think that that's the key. The key is to try to humanize the experience and get like people to stop and think and stop and feel and such, because otherwise, people are just going to consider you just like a regular nonprofit that everybody, there's thousands and thousands of nonprofits.
So to build a little bit on that, I think that's a very good point. Obviously, focus on the human side. A lot of people have a very institutional view of what a nonprofit is, whereas, of course, a nonprofit is started with a vision and mission in mind, and it is usually for the benefit of a community. So it's not a cold, heartless corporation. At least you have that benefit going for you in terms of people's understanding of what a nonprofit is. In terms of focusing on the human thing, I think that one point I wanted to make, and thank you for bringing it up, is a lot of people think of social media as a performative platform, especially when you see something like TikTok or even Twitter, where it's like, I am out here gaining likes or gaining attention or dancing for attention, or I'm a performer, I'm entertaining people. I mean, that's not a bad thing, but I think that it's one of the things that chases away people from social media, because they're like, well, I don't have anything interesting to say, I don't really know how to dance, I don't really like the way my face looks, so social media really isn't for me, because I'm not like that. I'm not a put myself out there kind of person. And I think that the way to help there, especially if you have more reluctant members in your organization, and this is my approach, and has always been even for technology, is that it's not really performative. I mean, it can be, but it's storytelling. It is that human connection. It's a context providing machine. So I see your nonprofit, I see your great logo, I like your page, but when I come to your page, if I see a person, that's what I will engage with. That's what will leave a mark on my head. I was going to show it, but I can't find the slide that I used to use. But it is well known, for example, that the use of a face in an image is the #1 way to increase engagement. A face in a picture will be the thing that will cause someone to stop scrolling very briefly just to look at that face. Or a face on a page is the thing that they'll look at in a grid of pictures. If it's a face, they're going to look at that. So, and the good news is, for those of us like me, it doesn't have to be a good looking face. It could be any face. But that kind of goes in tune with the humanizing of your message. So whether it's Ruby with a piece of art coupled with the face of the inmate, or coupled with the face of the person who bought the art. If there's a story there, like, what about this painting spoke to me? And it could be just one sentence, like, I really like the blues, it reminds me of Lani Kai, or whatever. The human side of any story is what people get. So you might be focused on stopping teen drinking or reducing abuse in the household as a related to that because of alcohol in the household, and that's a very important message and everything. But it's more, where can you find the story in that, rather than saying don't do it or do it. I mean, you'll see enough PSAs about how to wash your hand. I've probably seen 100 of them in the last week. But when you have a story of a nurse and why they want you to wash their hands because of what they see every day, that will reach you more than a here's how to wash your hand, right? You want to know the impact of your work. So yeah, I think just building on Terry's point, nonprofits are people organizations, even companies are people organizations, but you have the benefit of a slightly higher level of trust from the public. So take the same strategies that a company uses and humanize your message, and I think you'll get a lot more success.
Yeah.
I did want to also mention when Derek mentioned, 3 likes or 4 likes is good if it leads to something meaningful. That's where my old hat media head comes in. Like, you talk to your board and they'll say, like, well, let's get a 30-second ad on TV, and according to KHON, it's going to reach 80,000 people. And you think, wow, that's so much better than the 100 people who like my Facebook page. But the fact of the matter is, how many of those 80,000 people are receptive to your message, versus how many of those 100 people who liked your page are receptive to your message? And it turns out the people who've liked your page have opted in because they consider themselves part of your tribe. You've already gotten over the biggest hump by getting their support on social media because they have said, I support you. And to me, an audience of 100 of people who say, I like you, Celia, is much better than 10,000 people who wouldn't know me from a hole in the ground, or whatever the right word is. So, the numbers really don't matter as much as the value of the audience you're reaching.
I think that those are great points. I just wanted to add that to Ruby, that as a filmmaker, a guerrilla marketer type person that I am, like for example, I help people do like videos, like commercials and things. When you're selling a product, and you're in your case, you're sort of selling inmate art. From my point of view, you're not really selling the art, because they can get art anywhere. Okay, they could get, there's so many people producing art, it's ridiculous. So really what they're doing is they're buying from a specific artist, you know, or a concept, you know. And so the more you harp on that, the more likely you're going to engage people. When people find out, oh wow, not only is this art, but this art was actually composed in prison, you know, for example, another person, you know, who there's people who buy like art from schizophrenics, you know, and they buy it because for some reason the schizophrenia sort of provides a different view of life, and so that person creates an art that is completely different from other people's art. You know, there's art from dementia patients, you know. So in your case it's the inmate. So I think that, you know, like what they draw about, or what they paint or something like that in prison, with the materials that they have, you know, a lot of the prisoners, they come up with their own type of materials, because they're not going to get the same art supplies that we can get out on the street. You know, there are a lot of times they're more old school, or they might actually create their own colors based on materials they can find in prison, whether it be soap in prison, or you know, shaving down some utensil so that they can get the correct brown in such and such, or something like that. You know, those types of things, I think, from my point of view, would be very fascinating. And I think that if you can get that, uh, the prisoners' loved ones on the outside or something like that, to tell their story or something like that, you can, you know, I mean, maybe you shouldn't always be using sympathy, but you can also get the sympathy. You can, you know, you can have people realize, hey, there's a lot of story behind this art.
Yeah.
You know?
And Ruby posted in chat, you know, they use deodorant to lift color off of a magazine and reuse those colors. I love those kinds of details. That's exactly what I think Terry is saying. And Ruby, you would know better than anyone else what the stories are. And to more universalize the advice, people are not buying art, they're buying stories.
Yes.
And that's actually why people buy an iPhone. That's why people buy anything. They're not buying a product, they're buying a story. The story they think or they want a product to tell.
Yeah.
What do you want? What story do you want to tell when you bring someone into your house and you have that on your wall? What story do you want people to tell here when you pull something out of your pocket? So again, storytelling is a big part of it. Derek says it takes time. The holy grail everyone always thinks about with content is the viral video, but that's rare. Very true. Folks have a tendency, if they aren't seeing exponential growth in engagement numbers, for the average organization, a regular cadence over a long period of time is most effective. I would agree with that. I used to make a podcast. The most important thing is not that you're putting out, well, I'll put it this way. It's not that you're putting out content, but they're putting out content regularly that people can set their clock by it, that that it's reliable, that they say, oh, it's Monday, there must be a new something, right? You don't have to be quite that strict because you're not a media maker, but certainly, oh, well, here's a piece of advice that I usually start with. Don't commit to a social media platform if you're not going to be there, right? So the most important thing, the most dangerous thing you can do is like, well, I'm going to set up a Twitter profile because I think I'm going to tweet, but then you don't tweet. And then everyone looking for your organization on Twitter says, well, there you are, but you've tweeted 3 times and you last tweeted in 2016. You might be a very active organization, but as far as Twitter is concerned, you're dead, right? So at the very least, you should be mindful about where you hang up your shingle. And if you put your sign up in a platform, be there at that platform. If you are on Twitter, but if you set up a Twitter platform, but you're not using it, then your last post should be, please find us on Facebook. You know, look for us here. We're not here. That's definitely very important.
Yeah, Celia was asking Ruby about the you know, the sort of what you were saying, Ryan, in the beginning, where it's a process video where it shows the inmate sort of drawing the thing or painting the thing. I'm not sure. Are these inmates in prison, or are these inmates who have left prison?
Both. So we're
Oh,
working
okay.
with
Okay. Yeah.
inmates while they're
Sure.
incarcerated, and we
Sure.
have an actual program where we have an art instructor that goes into the classroom
Okay.
to help, to foster the artwork. And then we have what we call community artists, people who have already transitioned. That we have 3 artists actually that we're working with in the community. So the people I could probably work with, a lot of these ideas I've taken, like bits and pieces of already, like the writing of the stories. We have already done that. Videos have been very difficult for us to try to go into prison with, because there's just too much bureaucracy and privacy issues and things like that. So the best way that we've done is to, every artist writes a story about what inspired them and a little bit about their background. And those stories have been super popular, where we've actually seen people, like if we have like 2 friends that bought a card or something, they'll sit there and they'll compare, the stories of each inmate and say, oh, I really like her story. And, so they really resonate with that. So that's been super popular.
Well, one, things that I would come up would, just come to mind for me would be, don't underestimate the creativity that you can have. For example, you can tape something that they talk when they call you on the phone. You can tape that and then use B-roll. Do you know what B-roll is?
Mm-mm.
B-roll is sort of secondary filming. So, for example, you're unable to film the actual prisoner in prison, drawing your thing, okay? But what you could do is you could record that person's voice on the phone, explaining various things in an interview type of thing, like his background or why he decided to do art, or who taught him, and these other types of things. And you could use B-roll, such as either his art or her art, her family, her where she grew up. If she's talking about where she grew up, you could take a picture, of where she grew up. Maybe you could get some old photos from their family and scan it in and kind of put it into sort of like a video blog type of thing. And then overlay it with conversation with the inmate themselves, explaining things and things like that. So these are things. Just because you can't get actual video of the inmate, that doesn't mean that you can't do video. Other thing that you might want to consider is doing something like having I'm not sure if this is allowed in prison, but perhaps they could have like a blank postcard, and they could put art on one side of the postcard, and they could write some little letter to whoever wants it. So, if you want a personalized postcard sent from prison from prisoner A, with a personalized message, you can donate $20 or something like that. And then that inmate will design a postcard based on what specifications that person wants. Maybe the person wants like a specific photo characterized or something like that, where they could send a photo to the inmate. The inmate looks at the photo and draws it out or something like that and sends it back. Has a message on the opposite side of the postcard saying, thank you very much, very much appreciated, things like that. That way you can get kind of an interaction between the artist and the people who are buying the art. For example,
So actually, yeah, Terry, I'm definitely getting the sense you're a huge fan of this project. So I hope you and Ruby continue after our event. I like the idea, as he's mentioning, of commissions. And in fact, you can look, Ruby, at the internet art scene where commissions are a big deal, where you can set up basically an artist profile for your inmates on these platforms. And basically I'll be like, oh, I've been looking for someone to paint this picture of my dog. This person's story speaks to me. I would like to see this person's painting of my dog. So I think commissions are a great idea.
Yeah.
I did want to do.
Sorry, internet art scene. What do you mean? Like there's sites?
Yeah, it's not Etsy. It's I'm trying to remember the name of the platform.
You said internet art scene. Is there like a platform or something for?
There are. I'm trying to
Oh,
remember.
okay.
I'll send them to you if I
Maybe,
can. But basically,
yeah.
if you know any cartoonists or artists, they are on of these platforms because basically I say, hey, I like John Murakami's local art, and he's on one of them. I can't remember which one. I like John Murakami's local art, so I want to have a painting or I want to have a little cartoon for my wife's birthday, so I can basically pitch him $50 and he'll make a cartoon that says "Happy Birthday, Jennifer." Right?
Mhm.
This is something that you could probably do as a middle person for
Mhm.
your inmates.
Oh,
I mean,
Before we
people.
go to
Oh, I'm sorry. I just wanted to make one more comment. The I mean, think about a gallery, the art gallery. The whole purpose of these showings is to have the artists interact with the people who are purchasing the art. And so this is lost when you are in a prison, obviously. So if you can somehow recreate that interaction, then it's much more likely that you're going to get people who are, interested in the art, appreciate the art, and want to buy the art and support this prison person.
yeah.
So before we let everyone go, Ruby's asking how to get in touch with you, Terry. So I think you're hired. Very good. I did want to do something very quickly. Share something that I want to recommend to everybody because I'll show you how I do this. I might be a weirdo, but if I'm not, this is something that I like to stress. So when you have, most likely your nonprofit, if you have any interest in online presence, you probably have a website. You might have a Facebook page. Actually, a lot of organizations just have the Facebook page, and that's reasonable. But if you have a website, I'm now a bottom feeder on websites. What does that mean? Well, that means that I would go to an organization's website. I'm trying to go to this one. Okay, WorkNet. And the first thing I do, well, first of all, when I visit an organization's website now, 90% of the time I'm going to get a pop-up that says sign up for our newsletter, and I will swear and close it. So nobody's going to sign up for newsletters. Who wants more email? I don't understand that. But if, that's what's probably going to happen. There's going to be a box that says sign up for our newsletter. I'll be mad. I'll close it. And then I just go down to the bottom of the page. What I will expect to see on the bottom of any web page is social media icons. So here, Ruby did a good job. She has her WorkNet Facebook page embedded here. So I went down there and I liked the page right from here. Yay. And so if there was a Twitter icon, a Tumblr icon, a YouTube icon, a LinkedIn icon, missing several, but basically, oh, my wife says Pinterest. Everyone loves Pinterest. We'll have to do a separate session on Pinterest because she's the only one who really understands it in this house. But she has a cat board with like thousands of followers of pictures of cats. Anyway, I will click on all of those social media icons and I will follow your organization on all those platforms. That is my way of opting into your message, but I will probably not sign up for an email. It seems to me that right now the golden egg is email addresses, and people want to get your email address, and every website says, if you sign up now, we'll give you 20% off. Just give us your email address. I would not, email is definitely the lowest common denominator, but I would not invest too much into that because
Brian,
I don't know many people who
I'm gonna
sign up for it.
interject.
Yeah, okay. Oh no.
We're gonna have one of those. This is one of my favorite things that happens on these types of conversations, right? Is when the experts disagree on something.
All right, Mr. Email.
And you may be turned off by the email address pop-up, but the most valuable thing to a nonprofit is their mailing list. And for a number of reasons,
Sure.
specifically because you can directly engage with your constituents, right? That's extremely important. But second, it becomes very valuable when you start to actually spend money on any of your social platforms, right? Specifically Facebook, LinkedIn, those things, because you can use those people that you have on your mailing list to create a lookalike audience. So in another conversation we have about marketing, that's where the value really shines through. But maybe not an intrusive way, like Ryan says, like don't necessarily have to have the pop-up when people join your page, but definitely take every opportunity you can to ask people to provide you that information, because having that is definitely one of the most valuable things in the digital space.
Actually, you made a good point. The weird thing is, so I wouldn't be interested in receiving your email, but because it is the basic denominator, you're right that if I gave Facebook a mailing list list of 500 email addresses and it can identify 400 of them as Facebook users, the lookalike audience tool that it does is pretty impressive. It basically says, well, according to these 400 people, these are the things they like in common. So I am going to show your ad to people who match this profile. So you're going to reach a lot of people who match the demographics and interests of your existing audience, but finding new ones. So yes, I apologize. Your email address book is very popular. I mean, is very powerful and very important. I mean, it's hard to do fundraising on a social platform. You will probably do most of your fundraising by email. So I'm just one of those cranky old people that's like, I don't like email, but
No,
people like their email.
I think both of you are right. Honestly, I guess since I'm the moderator. For example, there are many people who use like a spam email account. I know I do. I have a spam email account. Whenever I have to sign up, but I don't actually want to sign up, I use that account, and I like never check it. So just because you have someone's email address does not necessarily mean you're reaching anybody. And then the second, but however, email can be helpful. For example, I think one of the reasons why there weren't too many people who came to this meetup is because I guess they're like me, where they opt out of the meetup messages, so they don't actually receive emails from meetup.com when you email them on meetup.com, and not too many people are checking meetup.com because we're on lockdown, so if I had their email addresses like Derek suggested, it would have been much better for me to try to get more people to come to this event, because unless some of these people go to meetup.com specifically to check their accounts, they're not going to even receive that message,
Yeah. Well, we're about an hour. Wait, no, more than an hour. But
so
I don't want to take too much of everyone's time. I want to reiterate what Derek said, because that should have probably been something in this presentation. You can start with your email address list right now. So Carrie, Ruby, Celia, Chris, if you have a database of email addresses, I mean, I can imagine you feeling nervous about this idea, but literally if you feed that email address into these tools on the social media platforms, Facebook in particular, it helps you find your current mailing list members. You can invite them to like your page, and presumably they're more likely to like your page if they're receiving your emails. But secondly, again, is that lookalike tool that when you are able to somehow scrape up the $20 to do a paid campaign on Facebook, but you don't want to just reach the people who already like your page, that lookalike audience based on your email address is really great, because it turns out that all of the people in your organization also like, I don't know, cute dogs and diet soda and Kias. And turns out those are the people who are going to be most likely to be receptive to your message. So your email address is a good seed for your social media profiles. All right.
Well, with that, I just wanted to thank Ryan and everybody else for coming. I learned a lot during this presentation, and hopefully we can have more of these. And Ryan, we haven't scared Ryan away from having these types of things, and hopefully we'll be able to have it in person sometime soon. Sometime before the end of 2020. But thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody, and
remember,
reach out to me, Derek, Terry, anytime.
Yeah, you can email me for some of the links that I shared in the beginning of the presentation, or the PDFs that I have as well. And I'm sure Ryan and Derek and all these other individuals have many different things that they would like to share if they want. Yeah. So thank you very much.
All right. Aloha. Zoom
Take
hug.
care.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, that works. I like that. Okay. Bye-bye.